Hello, gorgeous ones. It's 5:07. You know what? For the last about 10 minutes, I've been trying to get the phone to stay in its little holder. It's got this sort of a elasticy thing that just goes bing and then points out. So my apologies for being late. Now, we've got a good show tonight. I'm cooking spinach and ricotta frittata, and I'm going to show you my super easy chocolate mousse. Now, we just had a guy here, some random guy came in and he was evaluating the house. Anyway, long story. And he said, I heard you've got a meeting. I go, well, it's sort of a meeting, it's actually a cooking show. And I was telling him all about it, and I said, I just kind of find some stuff in the fridge and fling it together. And he says to me, right, well, can I have a look in your fridge? And I go, oh. He goes, well, I want to make sure that you're not sort of cheating and just, you've got a whole heap of prep there and you're saying it's 15 minutes cooking and really you've pre-chopped everything. So I show him my fridge and he goes, right, yep, I can see you haven't prepped anything. Because honestly, if you have a look, I've got some old bag of spinach that I've sort of needs to be used up. I've got a few leftover mushrooms, and basically we're going to get cracking on some cooking. And I was thinking, what can I cook that's quick and easy that really I can just shove in the oven? Now I'm just pressing this little thing to heat because as you know, I always start. Now I'm really lucky. I've got these pans that you can put in the oven. So for me, it's all about making my life easy. If I can do something in one pot, brilliant. So we eat a lot of one pot meals and we eat a lot of stuff in bowls. So sadly, I've run out of my favourite garlic and olive oil. So again, I needed to use up this, a little bit of coconut oil at the bottom, so that'll do. And I don't know, might as well just finish it off now. And I found, again, I'm a bit short on shopping. I haven't done my shopping this week, but again, I found some a half-used thing of onions at the bottom of the freezer, so that'll go in. And then to complement my very sagging looking spinach, I've actually got this. It's been sitting at the bottom of the freezer for probably about 5 years. And I thought, okay, time to get this out. So basically I'm just going to cook these. And in fact, if it wasn't for the mushrooms, I'd almost say this is another one of my no-chop meals. So, hello Susan, how are you, lovely? So, of course, something that's super easy like opening one of those Ziploc bags is now proving to be super difficult. But I think that's not so much a sign of the bag, it's probably a sign of my fingernails. So basically I've just rummaged through the fridge and thought, what can I fling together to make a meal? So I found that old thing of spinach. This is really good. It's just chopped spinach. I have got some old mushrooms that do need to be used, so that's my little nod of the head to something that's, well, as you know, I don't like wasting. I don't like wasting food, and I'm just looking down to make sure they don't sort of fall all over the floor. Now, I've realised I clearly was planning a no-chop because I don't have a knife, but the great thing about mushrooms is you can actually cut them with a butter knife. They're so easy. So they're going to get cut. Now, so I'm rummaging through the fridge and I found some ricotta, I found that spinach, I found some cream, and of course some eggs and some cheese. And then my flavour morsels, and I'm slightly sad about these, but not too sad, sun-dried tomatoes. Now, does everyone here love sun-dried tomatoes? And the reason that I'm a tiny bit sad about them is that they're stored largely in canola oil. So, if they were stored in olive oil, my heart would be singing because they're just a little flavour bomb. So, in the olden days, before I realised the perils of seed oils, I used to think, oh, look at all that beautiful flavouring, and that would go into the pot, and it'd be like a, or into the salad for salad dressing. So these days I don't do that. I still buy the sun-dried. They've probably got a little bit of seed oil in it, but again, it's really about the content, more, the quantity of seed oil, rather than being an absolute, you can never have it. And if you are wondering what the hell I'm talking about with seed oils, basically I bang on it quite a bit. Seed oils are pro-inflammatory. They have a lot of omega-6, which is one of our fatty acids, and it's one of the reasons that our community is, when I say community, our world is, dealing with chronic disease. It's the whole inflammation side of things. So look, that's all gone into that pot, and while that's, because it's frozen, I'm just going to cover the lid on a little bit while we chat. Oh, I forgot to get a bowl. Gee, I'm really dropping the ball today. Give me a sec, Dad. Got the world's biggest bowl because I'm going to crack in a lot of eggs. So the other thing in here, I had to come up with a flavouring. This is one of our favourites. It's the mingled garlic and dill. Remember, I often shake them because mingle has no emulsifiers or preservatives or what do you call them? Things that stop things sticking. It doesn't have any of that in it. It's just got the herbs. So sometimes anti-caking, that's what I'm looking for, an anti-clumping. So sometimes it'll just have that. So look, I'm going for these eggs. There's actually 11. If there was 12, I'd put 12 in. There's not. So I'm just going to put in 11. And while we're chatting, I want to talk to you guys about sugar addiction. So there's a few people in the medical community, and in fact probably in parts of a life, that don't believe sugar addiction is real. But it totally is. Addiction is defined as the compulsion to do something against your will. Now, people downplay it and they say, oh, you should have more willpower, you shouldn't, you should just be able to resist, have more fortitude, have a bit more self-discipline. All of those sorts of words come up frequently. But the thing is that for some of us, myself included, our wiring, and for whatever reason, is wired to sugar. Now, again, God, I am disorganised. I haven't got a fork. Hang on a sec. So, I'm just giving these a little stir. So, the thing, it's a bit like people go, well, how come not everyone's a sugar addict? And it's a bit like the alcohol. Some people can have a glass a day. Some people can't. Hi, Emma, how are you, darling? Some people can have, some people can have a bottle of wine that sits in the fridge half opened till it turns into vinegar. Some people can have a packet of biscuits that goes, in the cupboard and goes soft or mouldy or whatever. I'm not one of those people. If I've got a half open packet of biscuits, they're not going mouldy, that's for sure. And so for me, the idea that sugar is an addictive thing is something that I take really seriously, because I know when I have it, it can take over my life, and it's just miserable because you spend your whole time then having a little fight with yourself about whether you should or shouldn't be doing something, It's like sugary food gets like a life of its own. It calls your name from the cupboard. You spend your time, you're watching telly, you're trying not to think about it, but then it just keeps coming and banging on, and really, it's just exhausting. So we know that sugar lights up the reward centre in our brain. So there's a bit of our brain that responds to stimuli. It's a fancy word for things. And those things or stimuli are often sugar, alcohol, gambling for some people. And again, some people can put a bet on cup day and some other day and never think about gambling again. Other people cannot walk past, a pokies without feeling this intense need to go in and do something. I'm plonking in a whole tub of this ricotta. I don't know if it's going to be too much or too little. It doesn't really matter. It'll be fine. It'll just be delicious, and it'll either be extra cheesy or not cheesy enough. Who knows? But I'm certainly not measuring it out. I just couldn't be bothered doing that. So dopamine gets released and makes us feel good. Now the thing is that the more sugar we have, the more our brain upregulates these receptors. So the brain's clever. It goes, oh, supply and demand. There's way more sugar than I've got receptors for. I will make some more. Very kind of it. Which means the next day, for example, you're craving it even more. And that's because there's more receptors going, feed me, feed me. I imagine there's sort of like some little Pac-Man, feed me, feed me. So they're banging on. And then if you don't have the sugar, and so you've got empty receptors, you actually feel terrible. Yes, I'm making frittata. I'm making spinach and ricotta frittata, and I'm not using a recipe. I've just found some old things floating around in my fridge. And in here, I've just got cooking, just sauteing some frozen onion, some frozen spinach, some old bit of spinach, here's some leftover that was at the bottom of the fridge, because I really hate food wastage. And I had some ricotta that was due to be used in the next couple of days, and I had a thing of eggs. So, and I'm putting it in a square tin because what I want to be able to do is cut it into slices, because not everyone in my house, weirdly, likes, not everyone likes frittata. I don't know what's wrong with them. So I've put in, that's quite thick. So do you know what I'm going to do now? Here's a bit of cream. Now this cream I really like. Just trying to see if you can see it. It's Dairy Farmers. It doesn't have anything in it. It's got cream. It's got one ingredient, cream. Have a look when you're looking at cream. Some of them have like 6 ingredients. And again, thickeners, gums, whatever, different types of gelatin and stuff like that. So I'm going to put about half in and just stir that through a little bit. And I reckon that's looking pretty good. And I'm going to have a little look here. Ooh. And, oh, good. That's all cooked and wilted away. That was easy. So I'll just take the lid off and plop it in over there. So back to the receptors, right? So you've got these receptors in your brain that are yelling out to you for some sort of stimulus. And when you deny them that, you actually feel worse than neutral. So neutral, we've got neutral. We then have our stimulus, whether it's sugar or alcohol, and we do this, So for me, it's coffee, does that too. That first coffee. There's something about it. Interestingly, the second coffee has nowhere near that same effect, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But if you don't have your stimulus, you feel below neutral. So you feel worse than ever. So there's a big pull to keep having it. And sometimes when you have it, it's actually to take you from feeling terrible just to neutral, which is pretty tricky. So one of the things that you know drives me nuts is that food companies, food scientists, food engineers, whatever you want to call them, change the composition of the food, spend heaps and heaps of time thinking about the food, talking about the texture, the mouthfeel, the type, the packaging, all of these things to make us want it more and more and more. And then when we're a bit addicted, they go, well, there's personal responsibility, folks. It's like, really? You spend millions engineering this food to make us want it, and then when we want it more and more, you go, well, that's your fault. And that really makes me mad. So, I nearly forgot my secret herbs. So again, this stuff I just fling a bit in. Last night I actually used, they've got a really good smoky barbecue sort of flavour, which I put into, I made these meatballs and eggplant dish, which I thought was brilliant, but my husband thought it was a bit too smoking, a bit too hot. But anyway, again, you can always add stuff in. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to pop in my tomatoes. Now remember, I'm not putting in all the oil because it's nasty. But I will, and look, if I was a purist, you could blooming, put them on a bit of paper towel to get rid of it. But really, I'm just going to fling these through like this. And basically all the oil is going to stay at the bottom anyway. So a little bit won't kill you. Having it all the time actually will. So the thing that happens with the addictive foods and things like coffee, you have your coffee and you go, oh, good. And then and so what happens is basically that coffee essentially fills up those little receptors and dopamine comes and we feel good. Then as our dopamine levels start to drop, we go, oh, I wouldn't mind another coffee. So you have another one, but you don't get that same, And that's because those receptors are actually blocked. They stay blocked for longer than the dopamine is around. But you keep kind of trying to have some, because as humans, we're a bit like Bart Simpson. We keep trying to have it thinking it's going to make us, it's going to work soon. But it doesn't. It doesn't work till really the next day. I'm just flinging this in here. So, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scrape out all the goop because I don't want to waste any. And then I'm just going to give it a little stir so that the spinach and onion isn't all sitting at the bottom. Oh, that looks really good actually. It's very colourful. You know I love the colours. So I've got some yellow from my eggs and cream. I've got some green from my spinach and I've got some red from the tomatoes and there's stuff in there. Good. Now, I'll just ditch a few of these out of the way. Now, I'm actually going to put some olives in. I totally love olives, but nobody else in my house does. So I'm just going to pop some in one side of the thing. Now, olives are usually not, most olives these days are just in brine, so they're not in the canola, unless you're getting marinated olives. But yeah, you can just, you don't have to worry too much about those. And I'm basically just going to put these down one side. Now, I have got shredded cheese. Now again, I know the purists will tell me it's got cellulose in it, which is an anti-caking agent, and this is absolutely true. However, cellulose is plant material. That's all it really is. It's just it's actually like, you can take cellulose in its actual rawest form. It's sort of, wood shavings, so to speak. But it's really just some plant fibre that stops stuff sticking together. So again, I'm all about trying to make the best choices for the things that work for us and the things that don't. Now, I'm just going to pop that out of our way. So I guess to reiterate, we've been talking about sugar addiction, about the idea that the food causes a brain response. It causes something to feel really good, and that feel-good hormone is dopamine. There's nothing wrong with dopamine, but food is engineered to give us the maximum dopamine response. And the reason they do that is they want us addicted to their product, but not take any responsibility for that. I actually don't mind that concept because I use that now in my head. When I'm sort of, vaguely wavering, I'll think, you know what? You're not getting me, you scumbags. I'm not falling for your dirty marketing tricks, and believe me, there are lots. So that's a good thing to be thinking about. Now, while I'm over here, I'm actually going to make you this really quick chocolate avocado mousse. Now, again, I don't make a lot of sweet stuff. Just bear with me while I get another bit of some, chopping implement. The reason I don't make a lot of sweet stuff is I will eat it, which sounds obvious, but what do you reckon this avocado is going to look like? Avos, they can go from being perfect to deadly brown within about 20 minutes. Mate, seriously, I'm on a roll. That is perfection. So, now I've actually got a thermi. I don't use it all the time. I use it to make a few things. I probably should use it more, but I am going to use it to make this mousse. 2 out of 2. Seriously. I need to go and buy Tat's Lotto ticket. And you could easily use a blender. If you had a blender or a food processor, it would be just as easy. Or if you had one of these, which I was going to show you tonight, but somehow I can't find the rest of it. So I thought, I'll just have to get out the big mother and use the thermo. Now, I would only normally use this for some sort of special occasion. This is not a food that I would eat regularly. And the reason for that is that, yes, it's got erythritol or monk fruit as the sweetener. And so it's certainly low carb. It's not going to spike my insulin. It's not going to do anything like that. But what it is going to do is give me that taste back for sweets. Now, seriously, I used to call myself a lollytarian. I was one of those girls that always looked at the dessert menu first. If you went out to dinner, I'd be going, right, let's see what's at the back. I'd usually choose something that was either chocolatey or caramelly, or chocolate or salted caramel. They were like my big things. I wasn't so much of a lemony person, but if there was a chocolate pudding, lava cakey thing, then I was all over that. So anyway, this chocolate mousse, again, I've just sort of made up the recipe. It will work out because you can always adjust. So I'm just going to put in these two very good looking avocados. I feel a bit sacrilegious doing this, but seriously, they are perfect. I know you're all jealous that I've got such perfect avocados. So I'm very mindful that having sweeter things regularly brings back my sweet cravings. And so, and again, maybe some of you aren't like that. Like it's a bit like me with the wine. I can have a glass of wine once and not worry about it for a month. I can also make wine a habit. I've certainly done that in recent years where I've had to go, I think I'm going to cut this out. But cutting it out is not a big deal for me. Not like cutting out sugar, which was quite difficult. So basically I've just put in 2 avocados, a bit of vanilla essence. I'm just putting in a little swig of it. Now, I'm putting in about half the cream. You remember I put the first half in with the frittata? Well, the second half I'll just bang in here. And that. So that's why you need your whipping thing. So either, as I said, if you have a bar mix, God, I do feel old saying that. Any food processor blender might do it. Probably a NutriBullet. I don't think a NutriBullet would. And then in here, I'm just going to put in, I don't know, let's say maybe 2. 2 of these. And then you do need some sweetener. I have tried not having it with sweetener and it's really disgusting. It's very bitter, the cocoa, because this is actually cacao. So it's organic cacao. You can get this from Safeway or Woolies. So I just used that. And then this is just straight erythritol. Somebody gave me this. So you could use this. What have I got, the other one? Do you know what? When I first went low carb, I went out and bought all the cooking stuff. I bought erythritol, I bought sucrin products, I bought the whole thing, the baker set, it was $200 or something. I haven't used it. I've had it for 2 years. I've still got whatever those fiber syrups in there. That's how rarely I would cook with sweet stuff. But again, I want to show you guys that you can make something that's sweet, that's still really healthy without lots of added ingredients. So this has got 3 in it so far. It's got cream, just cream. It's got raw cacao. It's got avocado, a little bit of vanilla essence. You could probably leave that out if you wanted to. And then it's got a bit of this. So 60 grams, which again, I have no idea how much that weighs, but a trusty Thermi will. So you could weigh it out in the old, if you have the old scales. Oh, helps if I plug the Thermomix in. So again, be mindful that just because something is low carb doesn't mean it's a free for all. Part of my reasoning, just getting myself sorted. Part of my reasoning for not eating a lot of sweet things, the sweet stuff for me overrides my satiety signaling. So satiety signaling is when you know you're full, and we know that. But with sweet stuff, my brain goes, I don't care if you're full, you're going to stuff it in. And so I overeat. Whereas if I'm eating savoury stuff like that frittata, I get to the point where I'm full and I go, yeah, that's enough, I'm done, I don't want any more. So that for me is another thing that I'm very mindful of. And again, same for you guys, because if we're eating when we're not hungry, or if we're overeating, well, we've got to put that fuel somewhere. And so that's why it goes into your, I call your abdominal fat your woodshed. Or somebody else has put in a little thing that just went over. Sorry, the thing's scrolling through and I don't have my set up today, so I missed that comment. But somebody did put something in about sweets and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to weigh a little bit. I'm going to put about 60 grams of this stuff in. And you know what? You can always, as I said, if it's not sweet enough for you, because everyone's palate is different. Seriously, I used to think that dark chocolate, like, who are those people that eat 2 squares of dark chocolate? I thought, what? They're liars. Nobody does that. Dark chocolate tastes like dirt. This is all my thoughts. Because I was addicted to Cadbury's. And, you know, you can wolf down buckets of Cadbury's and, you know, half an hour later you want some more. So now I'm the girl that eats the 2 squares of dark chocolate and I can actually stop. I have 95%. It's not at all sweet. I really like it. I don't know what it is. It's the chocolatey, it's the taste, it's all that stuff. I did work my way up, started at 80 or 70, then to 85, then to 90, and then 95. If I now have 90, it feels very sweet to me. Now, I'm going to give this a bit of a blast because I really want to show you what it looks like once it's actually done. It won't take very long at all. So just bear with me for a bit for the noise. Just waiting for the arms to do their magical closing over. It's so space age. Ready? Are we ready in a minute? Well, let's have a look. So, couple more seconds. And then, look at me being super fancy with my presentation. But I'm going to pop it in one of these because then I can put it in the fridge, because I can tell you nobody else in the family will eat this because it's not sweet enough for them. But look, so this is, I mean, how good does that look? So if I was a bit fancy and had some sort of food styling gene, which I certainly don't. So I reckon that'll do. I'm just going to pop it like that. So, again, food styling, I would do a bit of a wipe. That, in a little jar, you could have this as part of your breakfast if you wanted to. It's avocado cream, really good for you. You could have it with some berries, with a bit of granola. It's got a little lid, you can pop it in the fridge. It's got cream in it, so I reckon it'd probably last a couple of days. But I reckon you could probably put it in the freezer. So, if you wanted to, now there's buckets of the stuff in here. So I don't know if you can see there. Oh, hang on. Try and get the light right. So you can see it's made a big whack. So I reckon I'd probably get 6 of these little servings out. And so I could probably freeze some, and then I've got sort of a pseudo ice cream. So lovelies, we've had a little chat. I've made a frittata. That'll just boil away there, and I'll probably put it in the oven just to do the top. I've made a chocolate mousse. We've had a lovely chat about sugar addiction. Next week, lovelies, we are making a little move from our Facebook page. Everything, all the videos are going to be housed in our group. Now, if you're not in our group, a lot of you are, you just go onto the Facebook page and there's a little button that says join group. So we'd really love you to be in there, because initially what happened was that we had nobody in the group, so there was no point talking and doing videos. But now that we do, we really want to get in there and be really interactive, and it's a lot easier than just on a page where everything gets lost. So if you would like to join us in our group, it's called Low Carb Real Food, which is our motto, real food, low carb. I could call it low carb real quick. But yeah, and I think that's going to be a really great place to just catch up and see things, and I might even post a picture of my frittata in there when we're done. Somebody just wrote that, please post a picture of the frittata. Well, there you go, we've got synchronicity, our minds are aligned. My lovelies, I will be on tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. I'm doing a series this week on emotional eating, which is why I sort of wanted to chat about the sugar addiction in here. As I said, be very mindful. Know whether your brain can deal with this or not, because for some of us, you can't, and for others, you can. So just my big thing, know yourself. Know yourself well. All right, darlings, take care. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you later on. Bye now. I'm going to slip round and turn the button off. Bye. If I knew how to turn the button off, I would. There it is.